One of them survived.
This is Lisa.
Hello and welcome to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast with me, a very small looking Matthew, as I'm still trying to figure out my camera setup and what it's going to look like entirely. For now, it is this. And I am joined, as always, with...
Yes, I am a big Scot, I guess. Yeah, happy Valentine's Day, Matthew.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. It's so romantic here on January 22nd.
Yeah, January 22nd. What a week. We're only halfway through.
Yeah. It's been a really romantic week. I've been feeling really loving and caring about the world this past
we were
week.
just practicing our special waves off screen. You know, we were giving each other our hearts to each other, you know. Keeping it very romantic.
Our Roman salutes. Yeah, terrible. God, what a fucking disaster. I hope February's better. Bet it won't be. No. I bet February won't be better. But we are covering a romantic episode of Torchwood. Not Doctor Who, Torchwood. We are looking at Series 1, Episode 4, Cyberwoman. We'll go into a bit more of the production scenes, but obviously this was written by the one and only Chris Chibnall. Yep. One of my introductions to who he actually was when he got announced as showrunner. I was like, who the fuck is... Let me refresh on who Chris Chibnall is. Oh, okay.
He also wrote the Sex Gas episode 2, so... A very horny Chris Chibnall, which doesn't translate over to Doctor Who. He is the least horny Doctor Who showrunner.
Oh, yeah.
So, he got all his horniness out in Torchwood, I reckon.
He did indeed. And Cyberwoman does some interesting things that I'm sure we'll talk about, particularly in just the design of Cyberwoman. Like, it's a really interesting choice. But this episode first aired on November 5th, 2006, which was a Sunday, and as of today, 18 years, 2 months, and 17 days ago. Which is very long. It's almost a 20-year episode. This episode is almost 20 years old.
Insane.
You know? It's the equivalent of watching Sylvester McCoy episode in the 2006.
In 2006, it would be Colin Baker's final season.
Colin Baker. Doesn't that make you feel old? Yeah, the United States, the president was one George W. Bush. Boy, I bet he'll be the worst president they ever have. And he was nearing the end of his second term with midterm elections just 2 days away. And in these elections, the Democrats would win Congress back due to the growing dissatisfaction with the Iraq War. We covered something recently that was set in like this same time period.
Yeah, last week with Girl in the
Fireplace.
Yeah.
Iraq War, still a big deal. People really unhappy with that. As in the UK, Prime Minister was Tony Blair in his third term, facing challenges at home and abroad, with his party struggling with internal divisions over policies with tuition fees, public spending, and Britain's involvement in the Iraq War. And
good time.
It would ultimately pave the way for, I don't remember why he resigned, but he resigns, Gordon Brown takes over, and then loses to the Tories. 14 years pass, and we're back with Keir Starmer.
Yeah, at least we're in a better spot right now, I think.
Oh my god, I'm so happy. I when I was watching the inauguration of Supreme Overlord of the United States, I was like, God, I'm so glad that we have the most boring milquetoast man in charge of the country and not insane people. You know, We've done enough. We've had enough insane people. Let's just get the boring ones back.
Yeah, it's fairly normal over here, thank God. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
We don't have to have a general election for like 5 years.
True.
We're good. Can you guess what is the #1 movie in the United States and the UK? It is the same movie in the United Kingdom. It has just hit the #1 spot on the 5th of November. In the US, it's been kind of dominating for quite a large chunk. But
so it is just a week after Halloween. So is it a horror movie?
Depends where you're from, but no, it is not a horror movie.
Okay.
It has just beaten a horror movie at the box office.
Okay. Can I know anybody who's in it?
Yeah, I can give you some clues. I'll try. Well,
Or a tagline or anything?
Yeah. It is a satire.
Mm-hmm.
And it would, at a certain point, not in this one. I'm trying not to give it away. It recently had a sequel. A few years ago. Which featured
Borat.
A very
okay.
Yeah. I wanted to say Rudy Giuliani, but I didn't get it straight away.
Yeah, okay. I prefer the second one. I think it's because I was obviously more aware of like the politics around the time of the second one, whereas the first one feels like a totally different world. I saw the first one way too late.
I think I saw the first one maybe when I was like 11 or 12, so like 6 years after it came out, and I remember finding it funny, but I probably wasn't engaging with the political satire as deeply either. I enjoyed the second one. It was one of the films I was like, I'm surprised at the quality of this. Like it seems genuinely quite fun. And obviously that Rudy Giuliani stuff is terrifying and very funny.
Yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen has got a new movie coming out soon. I don't know what it's about, but it's a secret. I guess it's another movie where he goes around in disguises and shit. So I'll probably watch it. I like his stuff overall. His
like
TV
Sacha
show
Baron
a few years ago, Who is America, was really good. I don't know if you saw that one.
I never watched it.
Nathan Fielder was one of the writers on it, so it was pretty good.
Oh, nice. I like Nathan Fielder. He's a funny guy. Makes some good shows.
You still need to see The Rehearsal. That's coming back soon as well. Great show.
It needs to be somewhere where I can watch it.
DVD, my dude, but you don't like DVDs.
I don't. I like DVDs, just not DVDs of TV shows. Because I forget what episode I'm on. I don't
Write
have
it
to
down.
Write it down? What year is it? 1836?
But yeah, it's a good one if you ever want to watch it. If you ever get over your DVD phobia.
Tell Netflix. Get some good TV shows on you. And maybe I'll check it out then. Or release it as several different movies in individual cases. I would like that. But that is all I've got for On This Day. Very, very brief On This Day segment. Not really much was going on, except people were watching Borat. It's November 5th.
Yeah.
When's Guy Fawkes night?
Yeah, it's Guy Fawkes night. Yeah, it's November 5th.
Yeah.
Ironically, you don't remember the poem. Remember the 5th of November.
It's a shit poem. Because November rhymes with remember. Remember the 6th of November. Remember the 7th of November. It doesn't help me remember the date.
But yeah, what is it, 18 years after this day in history. Great night. The election, the US election.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah.
Where I think we were recording Scream of a Shalka at the time, just to date ourselves. Good times.
We were indeed.
Oh, we were so God, innocent back then.
Imagine. And then it happened.
Wonderful.
Oh well.
Wonderful time. But yeah, we are doing Cyberwoman today. Of course, it was written by Mr. Chris Chibnall himself, and it was directed by James Strong. He directed 7 Doctor Who episodes as well, including the Ood 2-parter, which gave you nightmares. He later became a director and associate producer on Broadchurch, and he even directed episodes of Grace Point, the USA adaptation of Broadchurch, where David Tennant is playing the same guy, but with an American accent, and it's a remake of season 1 of Broadchurch. Very bizarre.
It's very bad. Apparently it's very bad.
Yeah.
I heard not good things about it.
I'm not surprised.
Broadchurch's good, though.
I need to watch it.
I watched all of Broadchurch. I really enjoyed Broadchurch.
I need to watch it.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing I've seen Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker do together.
Okay. that's not hard competition. So James Strong most recently directed Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, which became like a big national story in the UK last year. I still haven't seen the TV show, but apparently it's very good with Dobby. What? Who plays Dobby again? The guy,
the Dream Lord.
The Dream Lord. Oh, Toby Jones. So two of the working titles for this episode is The Trouble with Lisa and The Long Night of Yanto Jones. I think I prefer Cyberwoman.
I prefer Cyberwoman because it just kind of tells you what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, I like The Long Night of Yanto Jones. I think that for a more dramatic episode that might work. But Cyberwoman, it's about Cyberwoman. It's just a dumb episode, just bleh, you know.
My problem, okay, just to talk about my problem with this episode to begin with. My problem is I used to think this one was just dumb, off the wall, batshit insane. But when I go back to it, it's too dramatic. Yanto Jones spends too much of his. He spends too much time fucking crying. He
does spend a lot. He's going through a lot.
His face throughout the entire program is just like constipated.
He's going through a lot, you know. He's holding this big secret. There's this woman's a Cyberman. He stripped her down for some reason in a really revealing, yet not revealing way.
We'll talk about it. It's an interesting episode. So the idea for this episode actually came from Russell T. Davis, who asked Chibnall to write this episode because he thought there was a story to be told after the Series 2 final of Doctor Who. Like, what happens if one of the Cybermen is just left over on Earth or whatever. And as a decent idea to go into the spin-off like that, it's a nice connective tissue because, of course, that final featured Torchwood 1, and, of course, it would have a direct consequence to Torchwood. The team
they all
Torchwood
get, like, murdered.
Episode. Yeah. Which, yeah. Chibnall wanted this episode to actually be episode 6 or 7 of a series, or maybe potentially episode 10, you know, the big turning point of a series, like Dalek was for series 1 of Doctor Who. But because of weather around this time and a lot of script delays, it actually moved to become the 4th episode, which might be too soon early on in the show's run, I feel like.
I remember being surprised when I was first watching Series 1 of Torchwood at how early Cyberwoman was in its run. I remember being like, what the fuck, this is episode 4? This is like...
So Chibnall wrote this episode while he was moving house, and his wife was also giving birth. Like, while he was still writing this, his wife was still giving birth because he had to really do a last-minute deadline.
Chibnall has to write stuff at the he's the worst deadline of all time, you know.
But when
it's write the script for us as you're moving house and your wife's giving birth. Oh, write the script for us for next week, maybe. You know, like.
You know, considering he was writing this under that's 2 major life events he went through while he was writing this. His mind must have been fractured. His mind must have been broken. He's running on very little sleep, I imagine. So that's why this episode fucking doesn't make any fucking sense.
That's the case with so many Chibnall episodes.
Yeah.
You know, like I think the guy's got so much going. It's amazing that he can write at all. Imagine if he could just sit down and be like, take your time. I guess like that's what Broadchurch is, where it's like, you don't rush it. Just take your time and think about what you're doing. Plan it out, And when he got in charge of Doctor Who, it was fucking last minute script city. Yeah.
And also, speaking of last minute, you want to know when the blue revisions for this script was. And the blue revisions, for you who don't know, is like basically one of the last scripts you can write. It's basically the shooting script, almost. This is, like, the last blue revision script is dated the 10th of July 2006, 4 months before this episode airs, which is fucking wild to think about.
Yeah. Goddamn.
Finally, this script has 69 pages, and there we go.
Nice.
That's us. Very little to talk about.
He knew what he was doing. But okay. This is probably one of our shortest intros ever before we actually jump into the episode. So let's see if there's anything to chew on in the actual episode itself as we start breaking down Cyberwoman.
Don't be stupid!
I've nothing left to lose. There's always something left to lose. I'm going back in to save her. Anybody tries to stop me, I'll shoot them.
Yato, put the gun down!
You make a threat like that, you better be prepared to follow it through. See? You disobey me now, I really will shoot you.
Get off me!
You want to go back in there? You go in to finish the job. If she's still alive, you execute her.
No way.
You brought this down on us. You hid her. You hid yourself from us. Now it's time for you to stand as part of the team.
Jack.
The girl you loved has gone. Your loyalty is to us now.
You can't order me to do that.
You execute her or I'll execute you both.
I won't do it. You can't make me. You like to think you're a hero, but you're the biggest monster of all.
Okay, so Cyberwoman. It begins like most episodes of Torchwood do with the theme song where everything changes in the 21st century, so we've got to be prepared for it. What that is, who knows?
I really do wonder why that is the opening to every single episode. It feels very American CW, like episodes of like Legends of Tomorrow would do it, for example. A show we tried to do once, and luckily that failed because it was fucking awful episode.
The only episode that has never made it to air.
Yep.
Because it just, what happened to that? It was fucked.
It was me. It was all me. Double audio. Good times.
Oh yeah, it was like unworkable.
Yes. Torchwood.
Yanto comes into the Torchwood building, and we're seeing, we come into this episode following Yanto as hey, this is a Yanto-centered episode, that he is our main focus, and he's just really been in the background up until this point. He has not been a major player at all. He's basically been an extra, honestly, just kind of floating around in the back of shots. But this is a Yanto-focused episode, and he comes in to seeing the core Torchwood team playing basket and ball with a pterodactyl. And that pterodactyl, you need to remember that's there. That'll be important for later on.
It's Chekhov's pterodactyl.
Yeah. And they're playing basketball to
Oh my
see
god,
who
the
can...
next time fucking Chris Chibnall wrote an episode about Cybermen and basketball, do you remember what happens? Okay, so series 12 of Torchwood opens up on following the companions about where they have been since they last left the Doctor, like Ryan's playing basketball with his mates, but he can't play basketball because he's disabled. Yeah. His character arc that season is he manages to play basketball with a Cyberman's head. Fucking great arc. Fucking fantastic.
He does. Yeah. It's, they ran out of stuff for him to do after his first season.
Yes. But yeah, just playing basketball in the hub where there's like loads of alien technology, if anything can break, sure, why not?
Yeah, but they managed to play it, and it's Gwen and... Oh my god, what is his name? I just know his actual human name, and even then it's not his actual...
Owen.
Owen.
Yes.
Gore Real Man, whatever his real name is.
Burn Gorman.
Burn Gorman, yeah. What a cool name. What a just a badass name.
Yes.
But Gwen and Owen win the basketball game, which means that Captain Jack and Tosh need to... I remember it from Tosh.0, terrible TV show. I did not enjoy that show. But they have to go buy drinks because they're bored at work, so they're like, let's just go to the pub.
Yeah.
And they all leave Yanto and walk down the street with just like straight out the Matrix. Everyone is wearing leather and sunglasses, and they look hilarious.
And speaking of what are their names again, the sisters, the Wachowski sisters, speaking of them, guy from Speed Racer comes on in 2 years before Speed Racer comes out.
Yeah. I don't remember who he plays in Speed Racer. I'm assuming it's like a businessman of some kind.
Probably,
since he's an elderly gentleman.
Yeah.
But I can remember his face. But anyway, he shows up after Yanto orders some pizza for the gang. That'll be important later on as well.
Well, not for the gang, but for him and his cyber girlfriend. I'm surprised, by the way. I'm surprised there's not a cyber sex joke in this episode. Is the term cyber... Did the term cyber sex come after this? Or...
I feel like it must have. I don't know. Like, the internet's been around for a bit in 2006. Yeah. There's webcams.
All I remember is the classic Red Letter Media video they reviewed about cybersex, and it's just a naked woman sitting at a 1995 computer, just topless, and it's a chat room. So all she's doing is entering the keys, no webcam. Classic.
I remember that as well. That was great. But yeah, this man shows up, and Yanto's like, "Oh my god, you're finally here. I need you to come and see my girlfriend. She's super cool, and I keep her in the basement." And he shows her, and we get the big reveal of Cyberwoman.
Yes.
As she is chained up, and we see the outfit, which I think is probably the most notorious thing from this episode. Like when you think Cyberwoman and you think like, what's wrong with this episode? Immediately, this costume is what comes to mind. It's like Cyberman lingerie.
Yeah,
that is what she is wearing.
To quote Neil Gorton, the creature effects designer for this episode, he says, "Our two main ideas were to maintain the silhouette of a Cyberman by having the handlebars on the top of the head and on the arms and legs. Beyond that, we just tried to make her look sexy. The initial discussions were about her being quite asymmetrical, beat up and horrific looking. But I pitched the idea that she should be sexy looking. I wanted her to be a poster girl." And he's basically like, boys have Cybermen posters on their wall. Men will have Cyberwoman posters on their wall.
Not the men you want to talk to.
Oh, I don't know about you, but if I walked into a friend's house and I saw that poster on the wall of a Cyberwoman, I would fucking call the police. I'm sorry.
You've never had a girl in here, have you?
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
But the Cyberwoman herself was played by Caroline Chikezi, and she was apparently cast because Russell T. Davies saw her in the movie Aeon Flux, which is based off of the MTV cartoon. Which this is the second week in a row where we've talked about a actress coming in from a 2004 movie based off of a TV cartoon that is received very badly at the time. So, interesting connection.
Some things repeat,
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
It does. It does indeed. So this science man, which, like, what even is his qualifications to be here?
I don't know, but he has a sonic screwdriver. He's just gonna feel her up, you know?
He does just kind of feel her up. He runs his hands over her body, and he's like, wow, it's all cybernetics underneath, but you can see flesh and skin. And then he rubs her belly, and then he squeezes her boobs, which is, it's really weird that he's doing this to her. And Yanto's just kind of there watching, like, yeah. Then she wakes up, and it's such a strange start. Like, I like how immediately this episode is just like, yeah, this is kind of what it is. This is the whole episode. Is this?
So I first watched this episode when I was 8 years old, and I think this was the most sexualized I ever saw a woman at this point. So it was an interesting episode to watch as an 8-year-old.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah, for sure. I goddamn. I think I was in my 20s when I first saw this episode. Probably a much more appropriate age to be watching it. But they take the Cyberwoman wakes up and she's like, "I'm in love with you, Yanto. We're in love with each other, and he saved me from the fucking fire in the old Torchwood base, and he took all the stuff, and so we need you to come and save us. You need to fix me, doctor guy that you are, because you can do that thing."
So Yanto basically says here that after the events of Torchwood 1, Cybermen began upgrading whole bodies instead of just focusing on the brains. Like, the traditional, the Cybermen from the parallel universe usually takes the brains and transplants that into Cybermen bodies, rather than the bodies being Cybermen. I don't understand why the Cybermen decided to give her boobs or just so much skin, but okay, whatever. Why
they were
the
doing
breasts?
the same? They had the same idea as the costume designer guy. They were like, they just want to make her sexy. They're like, this one gets to be sexy though.
And I think it's here where we get a brief flashback to the events of that day on Torchwood 1, where the building is on fire, and somehow Yanto Jones has the time to go back and forth. First he takes Lisa with him to the car, I guess. And then suddenly he's like, "Oh, I need to go back in for the cyber conversion unit. I need to go." How the fuck does he get the entire unit out? I guess it would be piece by piece. He's going back and forth like 6 different times, I guess. And he's also like, the part with all the fucking knives? I'm just going to keep that for later, It's important.
Yeah, he knows he's got to fix her up. They're not. You don't put knives somewhere on accident. They definitely have a purpose,
But yeah, he's using the conversion unit to be like life support now, which feels like he could have just built a life support system for her, but whatever. Makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense, and I'm about to say something else that also, like, the answer is it just doesn't make sense. I think outside of her just being sexy, being like, let's make a sexy poster girl, whatever, I think the body horror element of my girlfriend's a Cyberman is way more scary if she doesn't have her body anymore. It's just her face.
I counterpoint to this. What if we opened the episode on, "Oh, she's so sexy, she's an object to be lusted after."
Yeah.
And then throughout the entire episode she begins decomposing, her face starts melting off and shit like that. I think that would
she
be...
gets hotter. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, this episode just does not work for a lot of ways, and a sexy Cyberman just is a bizarre decision.
Idea. It's a terrible idea. It is straight up.
Compare this to what they would do with Children of Earth. It is not the same show.
Yeah, this is better. You're right. But they take her through...
apparently that one shot of Canary Wharf, the shot of him dragging her body, that took all day to shoot because multiple cameras failed to capture the footage properly, so they just had all day to shoot that one scene there. Wild.
That must have been annoying. That must have been really annoying. But they take her through to like a surgery room for some reason instead of just doing it there on the table. And like the doctor is like, okay, you gotta let me do what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be a risk. She might not make it, but if you want her to be safe, like this is the only chance we've got. As soon as he starts doing it, Yanto's like, don't fucking stop it. Like, he's like totally not prepared for the surgery to happen in any way, which I guess is kind of like, he just loves her that much, he wants to do the right thing, but it's a struggle for him.
I just never feel a proper connection between Lisa and Yanto.
I hate their dialogue.
Yeah, the dialogue is fucking awful. Here, the doctor has a line where he's like, sometimes in order to save what we love, we have to risk losing it. Like, fuck off. Yeah. That's not what somebody would say in this situation.
No, they would say is, holy shit, look at her boobs.
Like, do you think Chris Chibnall sat there writing this line thinking, oh, this is like the most poetic episode I've ever written of television ever?
No, I think he knew what he was doing. I think... Like, he knew that this is a hammy, like, dumb episode.
If he fucking knew it was a hammy episode, why does he take everything in this episode so seriously? Like, the only hammy parts come from this dinosaur.
Yeah, but the internal drama of the episode needs to be consistent with the characters. The characters need to believe in the drama, even if it's ridiculous. And he can lean into the more ridiculous nature of it with the, like, I love you so much, aspect to it. But it's melodramatic as shit. Like, this is such heavy-handed dialogue. But they end up saving her. The surgery, or whatever they do to her, is a big success. And while this has been going on, we're being cutting back to the main Torchwood gang as they're drinking in the pub. And they get an alert for a UFO sighting with several calls already made to emergency services. So they're like, fuck, we gotta go back to base and deal with this problem. And so they start heading back, and then it's like a race against the clock, like, oh my god, we've got to hide the Cyberwoman before the team get back, and we need to make sure everything's okay. And Yanto does it just in time and does up his tie.
I don't really understand how his security system here works, because it beeps just as they're outside the base. It's like they're basically like 2 meters away or whatever. Like, they're so close. Why wouldn't he set it up so it beeps when they're like a mile away or something? You know what I mean? Like, the system doesn't make any sense, because otherwise it would just be beeping every time somebody walks around this area. It's a crowded area. It's like a tourist spot. What is his security system?
It's there so that he knows to run away, just in the nick of time, which he does. And everybody comes in to check out this UFO and try and solve the problem. And
there's fucking great dialogue here from Owen. They're having an argument about driving the car.
Oh my god, yeah.
And Owen's like, oh, you can't drive the car, Tosh. And for a second I'm like, that seems kind of racist. The stereotype that Asians can't drive. And then he kind of proves what I was thinking by going into the complete, oh, you're a woman, you can't drive. So I was on the right page,
Yeah. It's weird. It doesn't feel like, I know Owen is relatively unlikable throughout the series, but it feels particularly unlikable for him to say stuff like that.
And then for some reason, Tosh and Owen get together in series 2.
Gwen and Owen get together in this episode. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's Owen is such an unlikable character. I don't think he ever becomes likable, but that's kind of part of his charm. In series 2, he's kind of likable in the unlikable way. He's kind of like Robbie Williams in the movie Better Man, where he's a chimp.
Haven't seen it.
Good movie,
but. Oh, nice. I like Owen because I like death, gore, violence man. As an actor, I think he's a really good actor.
He pops up in the weirdest things.
He's in
he was just in Beetlejuice, and he's a quite good character. He's like one of the newest characters in that movie. He's nice. Really good in it. Just as this weird priest man.
I like him in Pacific Rim, where he plays a scientist, because there's an episode of Always Sunny that he's in, where he also plays a scientist. across from Charlie. And then in Pacific Rim, Charlie Day plays his scientist friend.
Oh, nice.
In Pacific Rim.
He's also in Fred Claus as one of the elves. One of the horribly.
Is he really?
Let's put grown adults' faces onto little people.
Child bodies. Yeah.
Very disturbing CGI in that movie.
I don't really remember the CGI in that. I've seen that film a lot. It's one of my mom's favorite Christmas movies.
What is wrong with your mom?
But yeah, no, who doesn't like a bit of oh my god, what's his name? I want to say Rudy Giuliani.
What?
Guy plays Santa in Fred Claus.
Oh, Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti, not Rudy Giuliani.
He's really good in The Holdovers. I've tried to watch that
He
at
is
Christmas,
very
but I
good
just
in that.
never got around to it. I think it's going to become a Christmas tradition now. It's a really solid movie.
Is a good time. But anyway, this episode continues when Yanto gets asked to make a cup of coffee for Captain Jack while his girlfriend murders the doctor man downstairs and grabs him by the throat and goes to turn him into a Cyberman, which makes all of the energy in the building drain and go weird. And Yanto quickly comes up with an excuse like, there was loose cables, I'm gonna go fix it. And he gets away from the crowd to go down and check on what's been going on. And he's like, holy fuck, you murdered this guy? What the fuck?
And this is the
over
start
it.
where Yanto's face just turns completely shiny. Like he's just greased the fuck up.
He is, yeah. He's sweating. It's a stressful situation.
So I want to ask you a question. Do you think the Cyberwoman planned this all along, or what do you think? Is it clear enough to you?
Did the Cyberwoman plan this all along? Because she says she wants to thank him for saving her life by ridding him of his humanity. But I reckon probably part of a master plan to cyber them up, because that's what Cyberman does. I don't think there's any human there.
When I watched this episode, I thought, she was human at the start, and then something the guy did accidentally turned her more into a Cyberman. But according, Chris Chibnall admits he didn't make the intentions clear enough. At least I was planning this all along, sitting in the basement, restoring Tramp to eventually kill and convert people. And he kind of kicks himself on the commentary for not adding a few extra lines, because the motivations in this episode just do not add up in a lot of ways. It's a very confusing mess of an episode.
It is very messy for sure. Also, the episode should kind of end here. Yanto discovers the dead body. He's like, holy shit. I thought we could save you, but clearly we can't, because the thing you just said about wanting to rid him of his humanity is an upgrade. You're still a Cyberman, so I gotta shut you down for now, and maybe just mourn your death or come to terms with it. But instead he's like, okay, let's hide the body, and we'll just continue on this journey together. And he shoves the Cyberwoman at one point. Which when he did that, I was like, damn, I don't think you guys would have been a good couple if she wasn't a Cyberwoman. If that's your reaction when something goes wrong, is to assault your partner. Chill the fuck out. But
just Yanto, you fucked up. Just admit you fucked up. This is gonna get worse, you fucking idiot. The fact he's still on the team after this episode makes no sense to me.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Well, Captain Jack fancies him.
But everybody is fucking unprofessional in Torchwood. Owen was just sexist. We're all fucking buzzed because he just had drinks. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's not a company you'd really want to work for if you wanted to be in a professional environment, But if you just want to goof off with your pals, that's the one to be in. It's the goof off squad.
It's such a bizarre show because nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah. So the episode continues onwards with them looking at the UFO and being like, just send them a message telling them to go away because these are really boring aliens anyway. They're not interesting or exciting. This is just meaningless kind of boring labor. I'm glad the whole team is here to send one email. That's a really good use of resources.
Like, they could have just done this on their phone, you know. I guess that's not technology at the time. I don't know. It's very confusing. We're just here because the plot requires them to be here.
Yeah, basically. And, you know, then they're like, hey, Yanto's not back yet. Hey, Yanto, do you wanna call us on the telephone and tell us that you're doing okay? Like, the power's still getting drained. It's all weird here. And we see Yanto running, like, through the basement, dragging the body, just having a terrible day. This is Yanto's really bad day.
Yes.
And, you know, eventually it builds to where they're like, okay, let's do a quick, look through the computer and see what's going on. Scan for life. For some reason, they decide to scan for life forms, even though they know...
Yep.
Whatever, it plays off because they see that there's 2 life signals coming from the basement, not 1. And Captain Jack's like, this stinks. I think we're under attack and Yanto's in danger. Let's grab the guns and go hunting. And so everybody kind of gears up and splits off into groups, with Owen and Gwen going down to specifically search for Yanto.
But Yanto's fucking plan doesn't make sense. Okay, they can search for life forms, and it's just the computer's never alerted them to this before. You know, like
they never looked. Never looked.
Presumably, the computer can pick up. Okay, this is Gwen. This is Tosh. This is Owen. You know, like, this is unrecognized life form. Fucking notify. Doesn't make any sense. If you can find the life form, you can find which one's not supposed to be there, I presume, right? Doesn't make any sense.
Sure, it doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't matter. They're going down now, and they're looking for them. And I don't know what it is. There's something about this sequence. I think it's maybe just the dark tunnels, the flashlights, and the cheap-looking guns. It makes me really think of Alien versus Predator.
Okay, I haven't seen that movie. I haven't. So
no, wow, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Better than the second one.
Okay.
There is some enjoyment to be found in it, and I think they do a good job justifying the crossover. Like, they try to tie it into the lore, you know, because you've got the ultimate killing machine in the xenomorph versus the ultimate hunter. And it's kind of like a tradition of the Predator to hunt down the alien to turn into a predator. Like, you've killed the ultimate alien, well done. It's just like any bad crossover thing. It's the humans that let it down.
Like in this episode of Torchwood, which is a crossover with Doctor Who.
Exactly. I will say, though, the Alien vs. Predator video game on the Xbox 360, banger.
Okay.
Fucking
nice.
Banger of a game. No reason to be as good as it was.
Is it a game that's going to be played on some hobo
No,
channel?
probably not. Probably not anytime soon, no. It's just one I played as a kid and I really liked. You got 3 campaigns. You have a marine-centered campaign that is like a horror game because you're a human trying to survive through the alien and predator. You have a campaign where you play as an alien, and it's a little bit disorientating because it's all in first person, but it's kind of fun to crawl around and zap people with your big tail. And then there's another campaign where you play as a predator, and that one's not as fun. It's just kind of like you're a super soldier. But had a really good multiplayer as well. It was a great game. It was better than it should be. Unlike this episode, which stinks, because they continue on through the basement searching until they come across the table that the Cyberwoman gets cybernized upon.
Yep.
Which is, she just left it running because she was on there before, but I guess she just got up and forgot to turn it off. Because she had to quickly scamper away to go hide.
Yeah, but Owen explains what the cyber unit conversion unit is, and it's just like, yeah, okay. I don't care. Oh yeah, this episode just stinks.
It does. It's a pretty bad episode. But they're like, oh my god, this is a Cyberman thing. That's scary. And then the Cyberwoman attacks, and like, she just like knocks out Yanto like immediately, and then Gwen is staring at her with the gun in the face. Yeah, Owen, sorry. And then Gwen is staring at her with the gun pointed right at her, and it's like, just shoot at that point. Surely just shoot the Cyberwoman. She's a scary monster lady. You're trained. You have a gun. Bang, bang, bang.
So
But
for a
Gwen
while,
freezes
Chris
all the time.
Chibnall was going back and forth whether or not the Cyberwoman should have a force field around her, and he didn't decide to take away the force field until the very last minute. I mean, he's like, "Oh shit! I have to actually write them for a reason that we don't shoot the Cyberwoman. We have guns. We carry around guns the entire episode. We never shoot. Like I have to work around that. Never mind. It's fine. Nobody will notice."
It's it's pretty noticeable, and Gwen as well. Like in this episode, she does very little.
Yeah.
She freezes all the time. Later on, when the Cyberwoman's attacking again, she just stands there, like But
But suddenly she knows all the fucking Torchwood codes. Like Captain Jack is like, "Okay, I want you to execute Order 17," and Gwen is like, "Yeah, I know exactly what that is. I'll do it." Like she really read up on her codes.
But she gets grabbed by the Cyberwoman and stuck into the chair to be upgraded. As Captain Jack comes running in to be like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" But before he can kill the Cyberwoman, Yanto knocks Captain Jack's gun away, and the two have a bit of a scuffle while the Cyberwoman escapes. And
Gwen, meanwhile, is on the fucking table
just
being
getting
converted.
electrocuted.
Like,
Yeah,
she's lying there for 2 minutes. The conversion is almost done. Like,
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
She's a Cyberwoman. But they manage to stop it and get her out, and then the hunt for the Cyberwoman continues on, because the only way they get her out is by shutting off the power inside the base, basically trapping them all in there and setting red mood lighting everywhere, which is I kind of do like the lighting in this episode. It's probably one of the more redeeming parts.
It's effective lighting, you know. I like the blues and the reds working together, like the fucking Force Awakens poster and the Aladdin poster and the Dark Phoenix
Every
poster.
poster ever made, yeah.
Between like 2015 to 2020, I don't think I see it anymore.
Oh yeah. I think because it became a meme, probably is why they stopped doing it. But the hunt for the Cyberwoman continues as they find her into the basement, the Captain Jack interrogates Yanto first.
Yeah.
And does he? Yeah.
He interrogates Yanto at some fucking point, and all I'm thinking is this would have worked better if it was episode 10, if we built like a trust with Yanto, if we slowly found out more and more information about Yanto, and we're like, he's a good guy, he's trustable, he's likable, and then he's been doing this the entire time. That
would be more it is weird that he's like an extra, and then it's like actually he's been like keeping the Cyberman in the basement, and then just like, and now you get to love him.
Because if you spent like the first 9 episodes slowly liking Yanto, his betrayal in this episode would feel more impactful. You know, it's like, he's got a dark secret. Like, we really liked this guy.
I guess it's kind of harder to forgive him, though, like, to redeem him if it's that later on. Like, it happens so early. You can forget this episode even happened by the time you're in episode 10.
True.
You know?
I think this episode is just resolved too neatly, because they hardly ever mention this situation again, apart from the final episode of the season, where it's a brief... we get to see the Cyberwoman again, just briefly, and it's like, why? Like it just never mentioned again the time Yanto almost killed the entire team, and there's no tension because when you're 4 episodes into the series, it's like, this entire cast is going to last the entire series, it's going to be fine. If we're episode 10, it's like somebody could die. We're near the end of the run. Somebody could fucking die here. Builds up more tension that way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree. It makes more sense for, just this episode to be episode 10. If it was, I think, a better episode, I would be more upset that it wasn't episode 10. But because it's shit, I'm just get it out the way, you know? Yanto, eventually, after his little interrogation from Captain Jack, they meet the Cyberwoman again, and they try to have like a heart-to-heart, and Yanto's like, I love you, look at yourself, you're a human, you're not a Cyberman, you're a human, and she's like, yeah, I am a human, and we love each other, which means becoming the same body, right? When we meld into each other with the lovely cold steel fusing between us. And Yanto's like, no, that's not love. That's not it. And then she's like, okay. And she just kind of grabs him and throws him. And it's a really dramatic scene. It's kind of a dull scene. I'll be honest. A lot of the talking scenes in this really bore me. But when she grabs and throws him, it's funny again.
Because she does like the whole body slam kind of, like the wrestling move where he just slams somebody across the room, but the distance he travels isn't far enough for the like the physics to work correctly. It's very bizarre.
And then what follows is a action sequence where everyone's basically just running around the base.
What works about the episode Dalek is there's like 13 floors to the whole Harry Staten base. Like the Dalek has lots of areas to explore. There's lots of set pieces to set up. The cage room, the scene where the Dalek is going up the stairs. The scene where the Dalek sets off the water sparklers and electrocutes everyone. All great scenes, all varied scenes. Whereas this Cyberwoman is just very slowly walking up the fucking stairs. And way too slowly, by the way. We keep cutting to the Torchwood team going in the emergency room being like, blah, 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 do this, do that. Meanwhile, the Cyberwoman is just not made any progress.
She's just vibing. She's just like, I'll let them talk, give them a chance.
But
they call time out. It's only
but
fair.
She has the arm guns, whatever the fuck they're called, the arm blasters, and she never uses them apart from sometimes. It's just like there's no threat to this character who could easily outwalk,
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. It's pretty dumb, and it's very funny watching everyone run up the stairs and into the base and then down the stairs, and like it feels very not planned out. No. Like when you write it down, it's like, okay, I can kind of imagine like they run here, they run there, they're dodging. Then you get on set and you're like, oh fuck, hang on, we gotta rework this a bit. There's like this is not structured this way that we can have them move around as much as we want them to move.
It's a fucking great set, but the set is too small to do a base under siege storyline. It's just it just doesn't work.
But Captain Jack eventually gets grabbed by the Cyberwoman and deleted. Oh my god. And everyone's like, oh my god, Captain Jack's dead. But he's not dead because, as we know, he's an immortal. He comes back alive again and he's like, aha, you can't kill me. To which Owen is like, how did he come back? Because I guess Owen doesn't yet know.
Yeah, they don't find out until the end of the series. But Gwen, in this moment, she's acting hysterical, even though she's seen Captain Jack come back from the dead in the pilot episode, so I don't know why she's so broken about this.
I guess seeing
really
anybody die is kind of terrifying, even if you know they're gonna come back, it's kind of scary. But yeah, she and then they all just continue running again. Tosh gets chased at one point, but locks herself in like a safe. And then the Cyberwoman punches a hole through the safe window like it's like a horror movie, and the chase continues onwards from there. Because I think
but again, there's just no tension here. None of the cast is going to be hurt. There's no variety to the action. It's just slowly stomping and then maybe a punch. It's just It's an episode that doesn't work at all. There's just no relationship between Yanto and Lisa here. It's just we're supposed to believe they're madly in love with each other, and Yanto just spends the entire episode fucking crying and having a shiny face.
Again, with it being like if this was episode 10 or something, in the previous episodes where you're getting to know Yanto, you could introduce the idea of the Cyberman from the previous series of Doctor Who, the idea that he was like maybe lost somebody, like you could sprinkle those throughout, so when it's like, oh my, or like even do full on fucking like flashbacks of Lisa as a human, and then by the time that you see her as a Cyberwoman, you feel like you have that connection, because when you open the episode, the only thing I see is, oh my god, look at the fucking outfit. That's ridiculous. You know, it overpowers everything else that could potentially be redeemed in this episode.
When the episode spends so long objectifying Lisa as like a sex object, it's hard to connect to her on a human level because, you know, this is a sexy show. This is sexy fun time. It's sex gas, you know? But you just don't feel any connection with her. It's really bizarre. I don't understand.
It is very bizarre and it's bad. But it continues. It does continue on. Okay, so the episode continues with Gwen and Owen hiding in body chamber. What's the name of those things? Cadaver thing. You stick bodies in them when you're doing autopsies.
Yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, it's a body cupboard.
Yeah. They hide in there from the Cyberwoman while Captain Jack gives Yanto the kiss of life. And while they're doing that, Owen and Gwen are like, well, there's nothing better to do while we wait in here to die, so let's just make out, I guess. And they start making out. And all of it's done in dead silence, which makes... Like, it's so, like, have some sort of music play, be it romantic music that then gets cut out by the phone buzzing, or like, you know, there's something to convey any emotion whatsoever other than just two lips smacking, you know?
So it takes a while for Owen and Gwen to kiss, and at first I thought, hey, I'm misremembering this. I thought they kissed. Oh, good on Torchwood for not having them kiss, or even having a boner joke. Great time. And then they fucking kiss, and then they have a boner joke. Oh, okay. Never mind. I was giving praise too early.
Yeah, a little premature.
But yeah, we get out of the thing, and Gwen's like, hey, you fucking kissed me. What the fuck was up with that? And Owen's like, it doesn't mean I fancy you. It's just it was the end of my life. You know, I feel embarrassed, but my life is fine now.
Continuing.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, but you had a boner. I felt your hard on. Ha ha ha. Fucking.
Yeah.
You know.
But
you didn't exactly struggle, did you? Is Owen's response, which is yikes.
Yeah. But they do go on to have an affair together.
Which I don't think gets proper. It carries over in like 2 or 3 episodes. I mean, it gets dropped, which I'm thankful for because it's just ridiculous.
It's a weird one for sure. It's a weird one. We get a brief cameo from Husbandman though.
Yep.
What's his name? I forget his name. Reese. And he's a little bit drunk on beers with his pal Daff, and they're gone to get a curry, and so he wants Gwen to record wife swap on video.
Yes.
You know,
my God, yeah, like the most 2006 thing ever. I miss recording stuff on video. Good times.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? You can still do it.
I know I can still do it, but I used to like record episodes of The Simpsons so I could watch Simpsons whenever I fucking wanted. Back in those days, you had to really work for your media. You either buy it on DVD or you sit there with your remote control, pausing the recording at the advert breaks, and then having to be there in time for the show to come back and not miss a single second. It was like Olympics. If you needed to piss, you had to piss really fucking quickly.
But they continue to fight off the Cyberwoman. They hold her back with like a torch as they keep Yanto back as well. And then they're like, okay, I'm going to spray you with hot sauce and let a pterodactyl attack you. And that's exactly what they do. They spray her with hot sauce and release the pterodactyl that we see earlier in the episode that just kind of lives in the Torchwood base. Does it die in this episode? We never see it again, do we? It's dying like it dies pretty soon.
Isn't there a shot where it... No, wait, that was... No, I'm thinking of a shot of the first episode of the series at the end of shot where the dinosaur is just flying around for some reason. I guess it came back into the base for this episode alone, and I don't think it's ever seen again. I'll look it up.
Yeah. But as that's happening, they're also in the middle of having the world's slowest escape. as
Yeah.
they are going up the elevator out of the Torchwood base, and like I think Yanto goes no, like 3 separate
Yeah,
times
no.
as the elevator is going that slowly out. You know, it's ridiculous looking.
Yeah.
And the whole pterodactyl attacking the Cyberwoman as well. Hilarious. It's like one of the dumbest parts of the episode. It's so funny.
Yes. Again, that's my like biggest memory of the episode, the dinosaur fighting the Cyberwoman, and it's like, I wish that was more of the episode. Just go completely bananas, you know what I mean? Instead, it's just so melodramatic. Yanto is fucking slobbering all over the fucking place. Like, give us more goofy shit.
Yeah, it's the goofy stuff I remember. I don't remember so many long scenes of boring dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, and when they get out the base, Yanto punches Captain Jack like, "Why did you do that? You killed her, you son of a bitch!" And he's really unlikable in this episode. This is not Yanto that we know later on in the series at all. Feels like a different character.
Yeah. Series 1 is just full of like melodramatic drama like this, you know, like it just feels so forced and out of character. You know, we just talked about Gwen and Owen. That doesn't feel natural to the story. Fucking Yanto fighting Jack doesn't feel natural to the story. It's just, oh, we need some kind of conflict here. Let's have him punch in the street for a bit.
Yeah. And while this is going on, Yanto's pizza is finally getting delivered.
Yes.
And the pizza lady just kind of walks into the Torchwood base. No scanners, no checks. The doors literally just open for her. And she goes in and is like, oh, well, this is interesting. Meets the Cyberwoman. We then cut away as to like, oh, God, what could have happened to the pizza lady, I wonder. I wonder if they're going to swap brains. That would be my first guess as to what would happen.
There's an interesting shot here. It's kind of interesting because apparently they ran out of time to film the episode for that day, but they needed an establishing shot of a pizza girl at the door, so they decided to just record it on like a shitty camera, like a shitty digital camera, and then add a layer over it to make it look like CCTV footage. So that wasn't filmed by like the proper cameras for the day. It's just like, we need an establishing shot. The camera crew is off home because of our restrictions. Let's just film this one shot really quickly, guerrilla style.
Hell yeah. That's fun. Yanto is given the ultimatum by Captain Jack to go in and kill Cyberwoman Lisa, or Captain Jack's going to go in and kill them both. And Yanto basically agrees to this and goes in, looks around the base for a bit. So, you know, eventually he finds the Cyberwoman dead, and he's like, oh my gosh, she's dead. The pizza lady got her. Oh, fuck.
You know, he cries for a solid minute of screen time.
It does go on for ages. It goes on for ages. And then we get the big reveal of the pizza lady lurking in the shadows. And she's like, Yanto, it's me, Lisa. I swapped brains because you said you loved me so much. And so this was always an option, by the way.
Yeah.
That I could have done that. You could have found like a corpse or like a freshly dead person and like stick me in the old Chinese man, the old Japanese man, you know, like anything
interesting Frankenstein parallel here, which of course the next time Chibnall would write for Cybermen would be for Doctor Who. Not the Frankenstein episode, but his first Cyberman is the Frankenstein Cyberman, which is a much better fucking design.
Very good episode.
Even
very good episode.
You know, that episode wasn't written by Chris Chibnall, and then the next episode, you know, the Timeless Children and the Ascension of the Cybermen fucking ruined that fucking character storyline.
The character really becomes nothing.
It's a shame, because that fucking design is amazing. But yeah, there's just no conflict here. It's just manufactured conflict. Like, oh, go in there and fucking kill the Cyberwoman. Why don't you fucking do that? Who cares?
He does do that.
Just go in
go
there.
in and shoot her. They do all go in.
After like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
fucking I fucking managed to swap brains in 2 minutes, and that's how it works in the Doctor Who universe. You can just have a quick brain transplant in the Doctor Who universe. Ridiculous.
Yeah. And you know, easy done. Take one brain out, put the other brain in. Works like
That's
that.
how it works. That's how it works. Of course.
And yeah, so Yanto can't shoot her, but she gets shot anyway by the firing squad of the rest of Torchwood. And then that's kind of just the sudden end of the episode. It ends with Gwen and Captain Jack after the fact just looking down as Yanto's like tidying up, and they're like, do you think he'll stay? And they're like, yeah, probably. Anyway, this was a fun time, wasn't it? And
yeah,
then
but
it's just,
you
like,
know,
over,
she kind of pleads with Yanto for a bit. Lisa kind of pleads with Yanto, and there's a
Yeah.
whole, you know, there's one morning when we were camping and a dog pissed in our tent, and it's like,
Yeah.
this is the best kind of like romantic connection you can fucking write. Oh, a dog
It's
pissed
like-
in our fucking
it's-
tent? Fuck off.
It's quirky, silly stories, you know. It's little funny moments that only they would know, you know.
Yanto is just fucking crying the entire time. Apparently, her last line of the episode is, "We'll be upgraded together," which was apparently added last minute in ADR because Chibnall's like, there's no reason for them to shoot her. Like, without that line, it's just her being like, "Oh, remember when my dog pissed in our tent and you had to descale the
Bang,
kettle?"
bang, 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 bang.
But like, there was apparently a debate. Chris Chibnall wasn't sure whether or not he wanted Yanto to shoot Lisa or the team to come together and shoot Lisa. I think it would have worked better if Yanto shot Lisa, because then it's like, oh, Yanto is, you know, he's on the good side now. He understands what he has to do for the job. You know, he's not. He's not a danger to the team anymore because he overcame this problem he has. Instead, it's just like, oh, he wasn't going to shoot her, I guess. Which is, just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It is ridiculous for sure. But then the episode ends after they shoot her pretty suddenly, and they're like, well, that's all that wrapped up.
Yeah, fucking terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I had this problem last year. I remembered, last year for Valentine's Day or Valentine's Week, we did Love and Monsters, which I thought was, I thought it was much more campier and it's fun to make fun of. Love and Monsters works as a Valentine's Day episode. That is a goofy fucking episode. That is fun. Mm-hmm. This episode is just crying for like 50 minutes. It's not fun. It's not funny enough to be likable. It's just crap.
I think I had more fun when I first watched it for the first time ever. But much less fun this time around for sure. It's mostly just dull. It's just dull, melodramatic, and I don't buy into anything.
Yeah,
it's really dumb as well. Yeah,
I had more fun watching this as an 8-year-old. I had to watch it on like volume 2, and just late at night, making sure my mum was asleep, trying to watch it on like a 12-inch television screen, trying not to wake her up in case she came in.
Yeah,
this episode was great to watch as an 8-year-old. So what fun time!
Yeah, well, you got no critical thinking skills. But that is all we have got for Cyberwoman. Episode, kind of a forgettable episode of well, not forgettable, iconic for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Episode of Torchwood. We will be back next week when we continue this love fest that we're in for the month of February.
Yeah.
And we turn our attention towards the Husbands of River Song, a Christmas special episode, but a romantically themed one. So we're getting away with it. It's probably the best romance episode Doctor Who's done. I remember this episode being fucking top notch. So hopefully it holds up. It's been a while since I saw it.
I rewatched it a few nights ago. It's not great, but it's much better in this fucking episode of Torchwood, I must say.
Yeah. So, look forward to that next week. Until then, you can find us here on YouTube at Who Watches Who. If you hit the subscribe button and the like button, that'll remind you when we upload new videos, which is usually every Friday at 8 a.m. UK time. We are also available in audio form if you type Who Watches Who into Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find the audio version of our podcast. If you don't want to search anything, there's links in the description. Wow. We're very close to 100 subscribers. By the
We
time
are,
this is
yes.
out, by the time this is out, we probably will have crossed it, I hope.
Hopefully, yeah.
If not, be very, very close to it. But we are currently, at the time of recording, at 95. So it'd be pretty cool if we can get over that threshold. I reckon we'll probably do that by the end of January, start of
We'll
February
see.
time.
Hopefully,
So,
we'll see.
yeah. But until then, I guess. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.